Support for Just Seen It comes from Fandor, dedicated to supporting independent films and filmmakers. Movies from around the world are available at fandor.com/PTV. Fandor, all for film. Ivan Locke is a construction foreman on his way to London.
You're the man in charge of the entire operation, but you've decided you ain't gonna be there.
I'm not gonna turn back.
On the drive, he is forced to confront personal and professional problems. The journey will significantly change his life in Locke.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm here with Zorianna and Sasha, and we're going to talk about Locke, starring Tom Hardy. We've all just seen it. Zorianna, what'd you think?
Well, I thought it was a fascinating film, especially since it wasn't meant to be a film in the first place. Filmmaker Stephen Knight was doing camera tests on a moving vehicle, and when he went to watch the footage afterwards, he thought it just looked so beautiful with the darkness in the background and the moving lights that he wanted to create a story with one actor against that backdrop. But on top of that, he didn't want that actor to be involved in something overly dramatic, like a murder or a drug deal or a kidnap. He wanted it to be an ordinary guy who was in a very ordinary situation that could happen to you, to me, to you, and that's how the story of Locke came about.
This movie has two huge things going for it. You've got Stephen Knight, you've got Tom Hardy. Stephen Knight, who did Dirty Pretty Things and Eastern Promises, the man is just so talented, and his writing, his direction, it's super dynamic. So when you know you've got a guy like Tom Hardy working with him, that's very exciting. I think this movie is being massively mismarketed. It's being marketed as a thriller. That is not what this is. You sit down, it plays out in real time, which is a brave choice in an era where, you know, everybody's used to vines, and anything beyond that, people are like, oh, I have to sit still for 85 minutes, and it's one location, and it's one guy in a car. I think that could make a lot of people nervous.
The writing here is super sharp. I thought it was excellent. It almost has to be if you're going to keep an audience's attention for 85 minutes inside of a car. This is like the Bluetooth version of My Dinner with Andre, basically. But one of the things that really made it work is the fact that every single conversation he has, I felt like I was listening to real people talk.
Totally.
Which does not happen very often in the movies. But when that character is talking about putting in cement in this place that he's left, when he's talking about this woman who's pregnant that he's going to see in a hospital. I mean, all of those conversations felt like they were really happening within this space, and these were real people talking to each other, partially because of how good Tom Hardy is in the role.
Well, let me tell you, the way this film was constructed was that it was shot in real time over a period of 8 days, twice in one night. So they ran it like a play. And so
Which is what it feels like. It feels like a one-man show.
So twice a night for 8 days, they ran it. So they had 16 versions of this film at the end of production. And with all the voice actors, they had them all sequestered in a conference room at a hotel. So they called in real time as they were shooting. So it wasn't in a sound booth, which then they played for Tom Hardy. They actually called into that car, he answered the phone, he did the dial outs. So it was live interaction, which added to the realism.
I won't be back for the match. I'll have to listen to it on the radio.
Dad, you said you'd be back. It's rubbish on the radio. Mum's doing sausages and all.
Is your brother there?
Yeah, do you want a word?
No. Can you just tell your mother to call me when she gets back? Thank you. Thank you.
Tom Hardy is just so good. I remember watching him in Warrior and thinking, that's it. This is the end. Drop the mic, walk off stage. No one can touch this guy. When I think of like the new Brandos, I think, Tom Hardy.
He's definitely one of the best actors of our generation.
Yes.
And he's also one of the few method actors of our generation.
It's a one-man show, so all the rest of the cast is voices. Many of them I had not really heard of, but Tom Holland is the single one that I knew of because he was the child in The Impossible.
It's sort of the rise of the voice actor as a main actor in a movie, as a credible co-star. And we saw it happen with Scarlett Johansson and Her.
Which was incredible.
Where you did not see her, yet she was so present in that movie. You could picture her. And it's the same thing here. These actors are not just people in a voice booth who are recording something. They are just as present in this movie as Tom Hardy.
But you mentioned the fact that they were actually physically talking with him on the phone, which is really what makes those performances so believable. If you took them and you recorded them and then brought them in later, Tom Hardy's not going to be able to go off of them as well. They're not going to be able to go off of Tom Hardy as well. And in terms of Hardy, I think it's important for people to actually see him in something like this. Most people are going to know him from Batman, which was fine, but I mean, he didn't really have the chance to shine like he did in this kind of vehicle.
Yeah, because his face was covered with a mask.
Exactly, yeah, which kind of shut him off. Stephen Knight also directed it. I do think that he's a better writer than a director. I think he makes a lot of choices where he's just like, I'm going to cover the hell out of this car because I'm slightly afraid people are not going to be their interest is going to be maintained through this. So we're going to, have flashy editing and flashy camera angles. And I think that maybe wasn't the best choice the entire time.
I totally agree. There were moments where there were shots where I'm like, why is this here? And there was almost, in the visual language, it seemed like time was passing in a way that it wasn't actually passing.
It's one of those pieces that you could see in a wing in a museum where the little card reads like, started off as a camera test, and this is the little experiment that we did, and then they run it.
Locke is an 85-minute car ride worth the trip. See it.
Locke is a fascinating experimental film that works on all levels. See it.
Tom Hardy's one-man show is one you have to experience in a theater or not experience at all. See it.
Cheers.
Cheers to Tom Hardy.
Locke is an 85-minute, what did I say?